I received a phone call from the guy I sent a letter to here out of Harrington and said, "Hey, are you guys still interested?" And said, "Certainly I am, but we just found out that Katie was pregnant with our first kid." And I had a relatively safe job,
right,
paycheck every month. And oh boy, this is a big risk.
This is the Real Food, Real People podcast.
Despite the huge risk, Josh and Katie Steward decided to go for it and pursue their dream of becoming first-generation wheat farmers in eastern Washington near Harrington. We sat down with them recently to hear their story and find out just all of the challenges that face people growing food, and in this case, growing wheat here in Washington State. This is the Real Food, Real People podcast. I'm Dylan Honcoop. Thank you for being here and continuing with me on this journey to get to know the real people behind our food. So how did you guys get into this, growing wheat, which is your primary thing, right?
Yes, yep. Really, the passion for farming started as a little kid. My dad worked for a farmer north of Odessa, and so as a little kid, you got all those memories going out riding on the tractor and combines and getting to do all the operations, and what little boy doesn't enjoy all that. So, it started off that way, and I continued working through junior high and high school and got to get more responsibilities, do more out there, and enjoyed all the different aspects of farming. Unfortunately, kind of understood that if you weren't born into it or couldn't marry into it, the probability of getting to do it was probably slim. And then, growing up understanding that it's just the way life was. So knew I wanted to do something in agriculture if I couldn't farm. But that's where the passion for doing it and wanting to do it started.
So how far back in your family does some of that stuff go?
Honestly, my parents came from Reno, zero history, wheat farming, zero farming history, at least a couple generations back. So Dad came up here as a mechanic, automotive mechanic, and learned how to work on diesel machinery and started that way, and then got hired out at this farm. Worked there for 27 years. So
it was just working on the what kind? Was he just a mechanic on the farm, or was he kind of doing everything?
A little bit of everything. Learned as he went too, and was hired mostly on for mechanical skills, and then as he learned, I believe he took on more responsibilities before he was done there. He was managing the farm, I guess you could say.
So he never ran his own farm.
No,
but
no.
You just going out and being with him. You caught the bug.
That's where it started. Yep. And in these small towns, that's what most people did. If somebody you had a connection to the farm, so
yeah, exactly.
So.
But still, like you said, you can't just decide, I'm going to start a farm. It's not that easy, right?
Right. Yep.
Explain the challenges to doing that.
The first thing would just be the opportunity to get some ground if you weren't born into it. And the first challenge that comes with that would be the purchase price of land. And as most of us know, those aren't slowing down at all. They're getting further and further out of reach. If you can't purchase it, then you have the option to lease the land. And that's the most reasonable for us. But you got to find somebody that's willing to give a guy that has no equipment, not a whole lot of money to their name, no deep pockets, the chance. And I totally understand from a landlord's perspective, that's a risky chance to give somebody. When there's plenty of good farmers with the financial backing to do the job that needs to get done on their land. So leasing was the option we thought was the most viable one for us to begin with. And so this farm that Dad was working at, I spoke to the owner, and the plan was to go to college. And when I got back out, we would be able to lease it. And my freshman year down at Washington State University, got the call from my dad, said, "Hey, they leased it to 3 other farmers." And oh boy, and because that's why I was going to school, I was going to farm, and that was the goal at the end of 4 years. So I think my sophomore year, I wrote a farmer that my family knew out here in the Harrington area, and just put it all out there, said, "Hey, this is something I've really wanted to do." it's my understanding your children are off doing other things and aren't coming back to the farm. And if an opportunity arises, we'd sure like a chance. Well, at that time, wheat prices were going sky high, and basically got a letter back. Thank you, but we're doing good. Retirement's probably not in the real near future anyway. Am I missing anything else there?
Yeah, Katie, when did you get involved in this story?
This picture
yeah.
here? Well, let's see. We met when we were in middle school, just being small towns that are close to each other.
Yeah.
We saw each other occasionally.
So what town did you grow up in?
I grew up in Harrington.
Okay.
Yeah. My family farms about 10 miles south of the town of Harrington. Generational farm out there. But my parents taught in the school, and they didn't farm, but I helped harvest, that sort of thing, my uncle. And so, yeah, we knew each other throughout high school. We started dating when we went to college. And so, yeah, I was there through all this decision-making. And
so you've been around the farming world, having grown up in that.
Yes.
So you already knew kind of what was ahead.
Yeah. Not everything, but yes, I had a little bit of an idea. Yeah.
So what were you telling him to do with all of this?
I knew he loved it, and so I was 100% behind it. Like, yes, you need to pursue this. And when we decided to get married, I knew that was a lifestyle that I wanted for myself, and I would like for my future children to have. It's just, I felt a great way to grow up. So, yeah, I was 100% like, yes, let's send off that letter. I will call my mom for his address. I think she has it, and we'll send it off. And it was exciting.
But then the twists and turns, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the first answer was basically no again, and so finished at school and went and worked for a Case IH dealership selling machinery, and again, I kind of understood that's probably the future in agriculture for us, not having it, and that was the closest I was going to get to it. And that was great. It was a lot of fun, but still wanted a farm. And 4 years into selling equipment, maybe I received a phone call from the guy I sent a letter to here out of Harrington, and said, "Hey, are you guys still interested?" And said, "Certainly I am, but we just found out that Katie was pregnant with our first kid, and I had a relatively safe job, paycheck every month, and we were doing well and comfortable, or as comfortable as couple early 20-year-olds could be. Yeah. And boy, this is a big risk. At this point, and but it didn't take very long. We answered yes. Let's sit down and talk. And he mentioned that. He goes, we've got some ideas to maybe help you guys get started. And
so what changed with them?
Just the age thing. I think they came around, and they felt it was time to retire. And they mentioned there was there's options, but they would like to see a new young family return to the town that they've grown up in, and kind of shared the same dream we had. Yeah. And so,
and if there's not family that's wanting to carry that on, then what happens to a farm like that?
Yes.
Farms like that go away if there aren't people like you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And so they sat down and, we went over all the equipment he owned. The funny story is I'm selling Case IH equipment and he owns all John Deere equipment. And, so
the long time rivalry between red tractors and green tractors.
Yep. So that got a little kick out of that, but I mean they're very helpful in getting us started. Like you said, he had all the equipment necessary, so we bought that from him on an agreement with them over a couple of years. Bought the equipment that got us, back to the financial burden. That got us started that way, and.
That's impressive that they were willing to take that on themselves and help you. I mean, because really they were carrying some of the risk then themselves as well as you guys.
Absolutely, yep. We were very fortunate. I mean, just from asking around, trying to figure out how we're going to get into farming, they're few and far people like Jim and Sue Ells is the name of it, and we were very fortunate. to have somebody, again, a huge risk. You think how much money they have invested on their end of the deal in their retirement, saying, here, we're 26 years old at this time.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, this is our future, our financial future here, and here, 26-year-olds with nothing.
With nothing.
Make a go of it.
I guess what that shows to me is their heart, not just to be like, yeah, I want to be financially secure and retire. It wasn't just about the money for them. It was about the future of the farming community.
I think that played a big role, because it was mentioned to us. Again, there's neighboring farms that were more than capable of taking and doing an excellent job. But the small town and bringing in a young family back to it, keep the schools full and keep things rolling here.
Well, if you think about the dynamics there, if instead they would have just sold to neighboring farms, those farms would have gotten bigger and they would have managed it. But then eventually those farms will get to that point where they're going to be passed on or merged into something even bigger. And the bigger they get, the harder it is for a young family to be involved. And then what happens to young people in farming? I mean, that's a big thing that keeps coming up, is that farmers are aging out, and where are the young farmers to take over?
You're spot on, because I think we're fortunate to start when we did, because everything's just getting further out of reach financially. And if we could have started 10 years sooner, it would have been a little easier then. But it is a ongoing issue. We've since, looking forward, we've grown, and it makes sense to grow. And but we're taking land that someone else could be, starting farming on. But it's kind of the natural process of it. It's almost unfortunate, but you got to get bigger, you got to get more efficient. And,
that has to do with economy, markets and prices and all that stuff.
Exactly. But we see the results here at our communities. We're farming potentially what maybe four families, quite a few years ago could have been doing. And so we're seeing that in our school sizes and in the community, and it's the ugly side of that deal. But
the good and the bad. More efficient is great, but fewer people involved. Which is where we're at the point where it's like I think this year is 1.4% of the American population is growing food for everybody else.
Yep. And we're doing it. There's two of us working full time on the farm, and I don't know what the guess would be on how many people it would have took to farm 20 years ago these acres. It's just machinery's gotten so big.
Well, and that's a labor pressure too, right?
Yeah, that's so kind of another funny story with our labor end of the deal is so my dad farmed out here, and when it got leased out, he went and worked at the same Case IH dealership as a mechanic there, and it's enjoyable. So I hired him after about 5 years into farming. We picked up some more acres, bordering neighbor that was in CRP, and we pulled it out. And at that point, you just need another set of hands to do the work. And so I called Dad and said, hey, what would you think about coming out and working here full time? And honestly, it didn't take him a whole lot of thought. He went ahead and I'll come out there.
So now your dad is your employee?
Yeah. It's backwards,
it's
from a lot, and it's kind of funny, like when maybe a fertilizer salesman that doesn't know the situation, or machinery salesman walks in, it's enjoyable to sit back and watch them, because they just automatically go to my dad and start talking to him, assuming he's making the financial decisions here.
Yeah.
And Dad's always pretty good at say, you're talking to the wrong guy here, but it is fun, and rightfully so. They assume go talk to the guy. The dad,
Are you a good boss to your dad?
I think so. Dad and I have always worked well together, and we joke constantly, and so it certainly probably wouldn't work in every scenario, but lots of respect both ways. He mechanically keeps things going. So
I guess I should ask Katie.
Yeah,
Katie, is he a good boss to his dad? Does he ever have to chew his dad out? I can't. That would be awkward.
That would be awkward.
No, he does good. I think he does good.
Yeah.
And his dad's pretty easygoing, which makes it enjoyable to have him around.
Let's just stop briefly to thank our sponsors. Dairy Farmers of Washington are having a big event this month coming up, actually in just a few days. It's called Whatcom This Way. They're coming up here to the county where I grew up, Whatcom County, and there are several farms included on the tour where it's self-guided. You can go, you can check out the farm, take a wagon ride to tour the farm, and you can also go to creameries and get tours of how they make different things like ice cream and yogurt and cheese. It's a really cool event, self-guided tour all over the dairy community of Whatcom County. More details at wadairy.org. Again, Washington Dairy Farmers, Dairy Farmers of Washington, sponsoring this podcast and putting on this great event that's exactly in line with what we're all about here on Real Food, Real People podcast, taking it one step further to get you in person on dairy farms in Washington. Also, Mana Insurance Group. I was just talking with somebody the other day about insurance, and well, it's something you don't really think about until things go wrong. Well, is that the way that it should be? That's not what they think at Mana Insurance Group. They think, let's think about it ahead of time. Let's make a plan to protect your family's financial future. And that's how you can really do the best possible best thing possible in case anything bad happens, or if it doesn't. That's the important part, and that's what they believe in. ManaInsuranceGroup.com. Check it out. They're based here in Whatcom County, where I am as well, but they also have offices in California and Arizona. Now back to the conversation with Josh and Katie Steward in Harrington, Washington.
So what's your role then? What kind of involvement do you have with what happens on the farm?
Oh, my goodness. I'm basically homemaker mom. I focus on the kids and the house. Not that Josh doesn't focus on the kids, but I run him to practices and he helps out when he's not busy. But just taking care of the house, the laundry, the dinners, all that sort of stuff. We kind of, I don't know if it was spoken or unspoken, but just kind of when it all started, we knew it was going to take Josh a lot of work, a lot of time to get started. So it's like, Katie, a lot of the stuff at home is going to fall on you. And I was fine with that. And so we've just made that work where this is my domain, the farm is your domain. We help each other when we need to, I flag for equipment down the road and he fixes stuff at home when it breaks. And, I feel like we have a really good team.
You ever get to drive tractor?
I haven't jumped on the tractor yet.
It's coming. I
know.
How hilly are your fields? Because last year I was out in the Palouse with Dwayne Lenson on his fields, and he took me for a ride. I think after we did the interview for the podcast, and some of those side hills, we were on a 35% grade or something like that, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. I've done a lot of tractor driving. I don't think I could stomach it.
Yeah, we aren't the Palouse, but we do have some pretty good hills. Our combine's got a hill co on it. It was an eye opener because Odessa is relatively flat where I grew up farming, and honestly, a lot of these hills would be a grass hillside down there because you wouldn't think about farming them. So that was a learning experience because there's a right way to hit a hill and a wrong way. But no, not the Palouse, but we do get some big hills.
With that kind of terrain, I'm just thinking about this. Could you grow anything else on that? I think about wheat. I don't know you aren't going to grow potatoes on hills like that.
Right. No, peas and canola are becoming certainly been here for a while now and getting a lot more popular. We haven't gone that route yet. Still looking at it, certainly looking at it. There's a lot of benefits to doing it, but it has just been grain. But yeah, your row crops, I won't say never, but I don't see how it could happen right now.
Well, and I just think about the terrain, and then what you do is dry land wheat farming, which means you're getting by with no irrigation, right?
Right. 12 inches of rain on average, which isn't a lot.
Yeah, every drop counts for you guys. Then you got to do everything you can to keep as much moisture in the dirt as possible.
Correct.
I
Yep.
would imagine.
Yep.
Just thinking, hey, what else could you grow on that ground? Maybe some other things, but it is limited. And so that's where what you're doing is utilizing that ground for its best use.
Yes. Yep. We're in a summer fallow rotation, meaning we leave half of it unproductive. It's not producing anything for a year. We're collecting rainfall because our rainfall is so low here, and banking that rain so the next year we can grow a wheat crop off of it. We do throw spring wheats in once in a while, mostly to clean up weeds, downy brome being our biggest challenge out here. But for the most part, it's winter wheat. That's the mostly economical crop to be growing for us out here right now.
Yeah. So, water issues become a bigger thing all the time. What are the tricks that you use to, I just can't imagine only 12 inches of rain and having enough moisture in the soil to grow something.
Yeah, the trick that's been used a lot around here for a lot of years is building a mulch on the surface with tillage, and it works the same as the insulation in your house. If we can build a 3-4 inch mulch, or some guys are deeper, the drier areas, even drier than us, will go a deeper mulch. But anyway, the mulch just insulates that ground so the heat's not beating, the sun's not beating on it all day and evaporating moisture out of the ground. Just trying to save the stuff we stored up over the year.
So that mulch is what? Dirt, fluffy dirt?
Yeah, fluffy dirt. It's got last year's residue still in it. We do leave as much residue as we can. It helps hold the soil in place so it's not washing down the ditches. If we do, once in a while we'll get a freak thunderstorm come through, and if it's just straight dirt, it's probably and loose, it's gonna wash down the ditches, which we don't like seeing.
Don't want to lose your soil.
Right. So yeah, there's we leave as much we call it trash or stubble out in the field as we can but we gotta get the drill through it the next year. So that's kind of the trick is. But I was going to go too. No-till's becoming a much larger thing out here, and I foresee us being there at some point.
Yeah.
And that's.
So do you do like a mulch thing to keep moisture in when you no-till, or you just harvest the wheat and then leave it?
Yeah, their mulch would be all the stuff left from the year before, and it's shading the ground, and a lot of things about it make sense. So, again, it's a financial burden. You need big horsepower and the drills are a lot more money than what we're pulling around right now. So, but I do foresee that either I coming on the farm at some point here.
So what's the benefit of trying to go that direction? Is that a soil health thing?
Certainly soil health for us, and honestly, probably most guys, we go back to that labor issue. We're going to be able to do more on our own and not need 2-3 tractors out there rolling and an employee on each one of those. It's just, the difficulty of finding guys that want to do that, and for 60-hour days or, when we're busy or longer. But so the no-till certainly helps on the labor side. There's soil health, and the drills are, we talk about peas or canola. They've got more capabilities of seeding those crops, maybe doing a little better job.
So we keep talking about drills, and I guess I take it for granted because my youngest memories, my dad had a grain drill that he planted peas with back in Western Washington. So I know what a drill is, but a drill is the seeder, the thing that you're putting the seed in the ground with. And so the difference is the kind of drill that you're using now probably isn't as heavy duty to cut down into the soil because you're working with soil that's been tilled. Right.
Yep. They're just not capable of getting in and getting to the depth we need to do to hit that moisture that's down there.
So the no-till drills are kind of, if I've seen them correctly, are kind of heavier and can cut in. And just place that seed in the untilled soil.
That's correct, and a lot more technology on them. Reference our one set of drills were built in 1964, and we still got them running, and there's a lot of them out here still.
Yeah,
but they quit building them. We're kind of a lost area out here in the Pacific Northwest.
Are they green drills or red drills?
I got one of each.
Okay, all right. Keeping them politically correct between the green tractors and the red tractors.
Still all green tractors and combine. Yep.
So, as a former red guy, does that bother you?
It doesn't. Not at all.
You weren't too hung up on that.
Nope.
as far as going no-till, it sounds like there are some benefits to that, but you're saying it's a cost thing? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, no-till, it's great for soil health, it's better for the environment. Why don't people just do that? Well, you can't. It sounds like you can't just snap your fingers and do it. Right.
Yeah. You've got a big price tag coming along, and then the other part is just change. We don't see a lot. Like I said, we're using the same drills from '64, so there's a system that works, or it's been working. It's got its issues, and no-till fixes some of them. But with no-till's going to come some new issues that we're going to have to figure out too. And so it's exciting, but a little scary at the same time to make that change. Plus the price tag that you got to put out there with it. But there's government programs that will help us get there too. That help us make that financial risk a little more bearable, I guess. And if you want to continue to stay in those programs, that's why I mean no-till's. It's the direction they're I don't want to say pushing us, but it's the direction they're wanting us to head. So I play ball with them.
Yeah.
So
Katie, you guys have been pretty active on social media. Talk about the stuff that you do there and why you do that. And Steward Farms, and you're talking about being a first generation farmer and all of that. It looks like it's important to you to be sharing that information.
Yeah, we just wanted to get information out there. There's a lot of disinformation and around farming. So we just wanted to share our story and, how farmers aren't all bad, and we're just, we like the lifestyle and everything. Just wanted to share what we do. And I guess that's the reason behind the social media, just letting everybody know what we do, the long hours that are put in and, the care for the land. We're not just throwing chemicals out there just for fun.
Right.
It's price burdens and everything like that. And just to share that story. Yes. So
I was going to say, well, what's so controversial about growing wheat? That people think you're bad, but what is it? And you talk about disinformation. What kind of disinformation affects you and what you guys do?
I suppose probably the chemicals are what we constantly see. I guess on social media. But just, I suppose that the Roundup is a big dirty word and everything. And it's just just sharing that, we're not dousing everything in Roundup. It costs a lot of money, especially this year.
Yeah, it's gone way up.
Way up. So, no, you use it, how you're supposed to use it. And we're not dousing our wheat in Roundup for fun. And I mean, basically that sort of stuff.
Yeah. A lot of people will say, "Oh, wheat is bad for you now because it's GMO." Oh, I've heard a lot.
Another would be a false, because we actually have zero GMO because our buyers overseas would refuse it. And so a couple of years ago, it's out there. The companies have it, but they found a GMO out in a field, and a couple countries quit buying for us for a while, and we saw the price tank, because they didn't know how many other commercial fields this might be found in. Luckily, it seemed to be one and just a limited incident there. But
so it's a big deal to not have GMO wheat.
From a consumer standpoint, it is. It's certainly, there's some benefits if it did make it into our market for drought tolerance, but you got to produce what the buyer wants, and they don't want GMO right now. So we see that out there a lot, and it's my understanding on the commercial side, there is no GMO wheats produced today.
So what would be non-commercial, like animal feed kind of stuff?
I don't even think you will find it there. I think the technology's out there. They're capable. It's got to be accepted by the consumer at this point going forward. And it sounds like it's not on the, not interested in it right now.
And I think that's what a lot of people think, is that GMO wheat is widespread, and really it's not, from what you're saying. I mean, is that just a Washington thing, or is that across the country too?
It is. It's my understanding there's zero, but I can speak for soft white wheat. We don't produce any. It wouldn't even be an option. If I wanted to go to the seed dealer and buy some, I couldn't find it. So
that's interesting.
Not locally here anyway. And back to the Roundup. Again, on Facebook, social media, you see spraying our wheat with Roundup. Well, no, Roundup kills everything it hits. We're not spraying it on our wheat. It kill your crop. We do it in a summer fallow rotation. It's going on to weeds and then directly to the soil if it doesn't hit a weed. And
Yeah.
there's zero.
Well, and especially if your wheat is not GMO, because it could, like in some other crops, corn, for instance, you can spray corn with Roundup because it's been, not all corn, but GMO corn has been genetically modified to be resistant to glyphosate. Right?
Yes, yep.
But that's never the case.
It
with
would be
wheat.
It'd be really handy if it wasn't wheat for again that downy brome. But that's the
Yeah.
pluses to like canola, because there is GMO canola that's Roundup ready,
Yeah.
and it's a great way, because that's our struggles. Killing a downy brome is a grass. It's tough to kill a grass within a grass crop,
Right.
and so that's if we start incorporating some of these alternative crops, we can go after them with different tools. Yeah, so no, I think back to social media, just
Yeah.
trying to, you see some of those, or wearing the hazmat suits. I promise you, we're not out there spraying by hand in a hazmat suit. I wear gloves, and it's nothing I want to get all over me, but it's not what you see on Facebook.
Yeah. And I guess if you are on a farm and you see somebody mixing stuff, it does look scary because they're wearing the full PPE, and it's like, oh my gosh. But if you've been around it, especially like as long as I have, when I was a kid, they didn't always wear that kind of stuff. They should have been, but really it's, I mean, the chances that that's going to cause a problem are very, very slim. It's just a big, big precaution.
Yep.
To have all that stuff on.
And I think, it's important. We all are licensed. We had to go to training on how to handle it. We have to, by law, follow the labels. The labels tell us how much to put down, when we can put it down. If it's windy, we can't spray. I mean, we aren't just going out there, and like Katie said, there's a cost to it too. So we're not putting any more than we absolutely have to put down to get the job done.
So why not organic? What would it take for you to be organic?
Well, back to a learning curve probably on that one. I know some guys, not real local, but probably within an hour, that have done it. They've and it's been successful. I wouldn't say it's weeds would be our challenge. We'd have to learn. I mean, I'd have to learn a lot how you're going to manage a lot of that. It's probably doable, but I go back maybe again in our situation, just we're kind of going with the proven system because we really probably couldn't afford a failure year and get through it. So
and that's another thing. People, why didn't you just go organic? Well, you could be putting everything on the line, rolling the dice, and you could lose.
Yes. Yep.
So you got to wait to make that kind of a move until, I don't know, you keep trying to build up your bank account, probably, I would imagine, and hope that you don't have too many bad years for a while to save up to be able to even make a transition like that.
Yep. The same thing with no-till. I just said for us, I see us going that direction first, making more sense. Customers are readily available. You just get to haul that to your elevator here in town, and so some simplicity of that process too, staying conventional.
Yeah. So soft white wheat, what does that become? Your wheat, probably a lot of it goes overseas. I know Asia is a big market for that.
I think the number is something like 90% of our wheat shipped overseas. Asian markets are big. It makes sponge cake, makes some noodles. And we grow a very high quality wheat out of the Pacific Northwest. That's something that's unique to our area. Is us, Australia, Canada can grow some too, but soft whites is the unique part. Most of the country's hard red, so
that's the stuff that you'd see in your average bread.
Your bread, yep. So most of our wheat, it gets hauled here. Most of ours comes straight here to town in Harrington, and then it goes train down to the river, and then or down to Portland eventually, and it's shipped overseas there.
So then it goes on a barge in the river out to Portland often?
Yep. So as you know, there's some breaching of the dam issues, and I'm not in on all that, but obviously if we lost the ability to ship by barge, you'd put a lot of semis on the road, and I don't think they'd be happy about that either.
Yeah, there's probably some people who would think, well, I'm always coming back to, all the different things that system does. When they're looking at doing that, it's more than one thing that would affect. And so some people could say, well, you don't need the irrigation water from those dams. That's not it for you, but you need the transportation part of it.
Yep, the transportation, that's my understanding, there really isn't any more efficient way to get that grain to Portland from here. Like I said, the alternative is train or truck. And I don't think they're anywhere near what the barge can do.
So how does it work with markets and pricing and all of that, and what's going on in that world right now? I mean, I've heard that things are crazy with the war in Ukraine and stuff.
Yeah, the wars caused a lot of uncertainty, which is increasing the wheat prices, and that's great. Again, from our perspective, from a consumer perspective, I think you're yet to see that wheat hit the shelf, so that's coming. But we got to offset. Our fertilizer prices have gone up. Our we talked Roundup. Our chemical prices are up. Fuel's huge, and it's through the roof. So this wheat price that we're getting is necessary for us to be able to see a profit at the end of the year.
So does it almost kind of cancel everything out? Like the higher price is great, but then all your extra costs just burn up the extra?
It's how we're looking at it. I mean, it's fair. You get some friends, boy, look at that wheat price. It's like, well, you got to see our expense column too. It's just more in, more out.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, I mean, the talk now is about inflation. You guys are living it. You're seeing both sides of that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. We tried to pre-buy what we could this year. Wish we had more fuel storage to get us through the whole year. This last winter was a lot cheaper than it is today, but no, there's a few things we can do to hedge against that. But something like fertilizer, we buy it when we put it in the ground, and so we're at the mercy of whatever that price is that day.
Now, some crop farming systems use a lot of manure for their nutrient. Is that something that's possible here, or are there dairy farms or other animal sources that would? Is that what? How does that work?
I again, not real familiar in the area. I know it's being done, so I'd say it's possible, but I think the transportation costs of getting that waste to us might be where it's prohibitive to
truck it a long way, because burn a lot of diesel and
so not something we're seeing around here. Not yet anyway.
So. Fascinating, all the things that go into this.
Yeah.
What's it like for your family? Is it stressful?
I mean, there are times where it gets a little like when you see the prices go up so high, like, okay, I hope we can pay for this, but again, the wheat price helps offset that. I would say we don't stress too much. I don't know, like in the family side of things.
Yeah, we do a lot of planning, a lot of sitting down in the office, going over numbers, knowing where we're at.
Josh is a spreadsheet guy.
I'm a spreadsheet nerd. Yeah.
Nice.
And so I guess, a lot of things are thrown at us that you can't predict, but we try to be prepared for them. And so they don't come up as surprises as much anyway. There's still a few out there, but I think, we try to manage the unknown as best we can. Like I said, buying the fuel price. We didn't know if we were buying at the high this winter. Hindsight,
right.
It was a great choice. And like I said, I wish we had more storage to buy more. But at the time, it's the most I've ever paid for fuel this winter. So I hope I'm not locking the high in right now. And
same people are thinking with home buying right now.
Yes.
It's like, should I buy now? Interest rates are going up, but they may just keep on going up for the next how many years?
Yes. Yep.
So what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Yep. But no, I mean, it's a stressful job. I wouldn't say it's not, but I think just going in it, knowing the obstacles and understanding them, it's helped. But it still throws you curveballs every once in a while. And hindsight, it's kind of what makes it fun though, because it's not the same routine every day. It's not fun when they're expensive curveballs, but it keeps it exciting. It's always changing and working through that stuff. So
your busy season, when you plant in what, March or April?
So because most of ours is all winter, we do it in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Yep. We seed usually around September, early September if we can. This year was a little different because we were in the drought and there was no moisture to seed into, so we waited about another month, and it finally started raining and we could get the crops in. Busy time, harvest. Harvest is a real busy time. Even the springtime can get busy, and then winters are I kind of joke that's when we get back to 40-hour weeks. So,
How many hour weeks is it when it's busy season?
Oh boy, I don't know. What harvest is usually 7 till 9 o'clock for 3.5 weeks, and
Yeah.
so. But that's the fun part. The kids come ride with you. Otherwise, you wouldn't see them too much to those times. And seating's almost the same. Maybe a little shorter hours, but they enjoy it. They come out and ride on the tractor. Katie will come bring dinner out once in a while, and it's enjoyable. It's different, but it's enjoyable. It's I don't know. It's always fun with them.
So how many kids you have?
We have 3.
3 kiddos.
Kids, yeah.
How old?
11, 8, and 3.
Do they love the farming scene, or are they into it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They really enjoy it. The big equipment and being out in the wide open spaces. Yes. It's very fun.
So when it comes time, do you think any of them are going to want to carry on the farm, or will you want them? I talk with some farmers who are like, no, I'm going to tell my kids, no, don't get into this. This is too stressful, too much work, too much uncertainty.
Yeah, no, our son, he's the 11-year-old.
Yeah.
He's, today interested, but I tell him all the time, you go do what you want to do. This was your mom's and my dream. This is what we wanted. Would be really neat to see him carry it on if it's what he wanted to do. But, and like I said, today it is, but he's 11. So I encourage him to go do something different for, go summer jobs, maybe do something. I'd like the help here, but learn what else is out there. And then when you come back, at least this is what you wanted to do. Although our daughters tease them, and we tease them all the time, our 3-year-old might want to take over the farm. And
sometimes that's the way it works.
Yep. And so, but he doesn't like that. He wants to be the boss. So, and it's our hope. Hopefully, we're in a spot we can step back, because I think it's important. These younger, the kids coming home, that they take over. If they're capable of it, it'd be my hope he goes maybe to school and learns and comes home and has all the tools he needs. And I think maybe because we got an early start in this, that hopefully we're ready to step back and let him have more of that responsibility. You do see sometimes that older generation holds on and doesn't give the younger generation that chance and those management decisions. And so again, if we feel he's capable, we'd like to be able to back out and let him, I'll drive tractor for him and he can deal with all that once he's older.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Just like your dad does now.
Yep. That's I think a hope and a benefit, because by the time he's ready, I think we might be done, or we're ready to step back a little bit and let him take over would be the hope.
I'll bet your dad is pretty proud of you.
I think so. I think they are. As a matter of fact, I told him we were going to talk to you today about this, and he told me, he goes, boy, he's real nervous about when we wanted to do this, and he goes, I got to remember one thing he said, Dad, we don't have anything to lose. I mean, we might have a couple $1,000s to our name at the time. I said, we got nowhere to go but up from here. Yeah. So what do we have to lose here? And he goes, I gave that a lot of thought, and you're right. This is the time to do it. And it's worked out really well, and turned out to be a good decision.
Katie, what about your folks?
My folks were basically, whatever you want to do, whatever makes you guys happy, go for it. There was never really any reservations from them. Yeah,
because they grew up around it too.
Oh, they live
from farming families.
Yeah, living out in the country. My mom grew up in Harrington, and after moving out there, she's like, I will never go back to living in town. She loves that. And I loved growing up out there. So, I mean, it's perfect for what I envisioned in my future and now living it. So it's, just all the way around. Yes. Thumbs up.
Producing food for people to eat.
Yes.
As not just a job, but as a lifestyle, as I can tell from you guys describing what you do and the time that you put into it and how much you have on the line. I mean, your family's future is on the line.
Yep.
Every year, I would imagine, always having to make sure you're doing things right. You know, it's not just like you can be like, oh yeah, it didn't work out.
Right. No.
Because you're invested in it.
We're invested and looking forward, our big thing now is we still got to figure out how to buy the land, to make sure there is a we talk a lot about legacy. We especially if Jack, our son, is interested in come back, or one of the girls want to come back, or in our perfect world, they all three would find a way to come back here and make it work. Meaning more, picking up more ground or whatever we got to do. But owning that land is the only thing that keeps us a staple here, because at the end of every lease, we could be done,
right?
if landlords chose that for us. So it would be nice to find some ground and still make, and it feels like, we talk about it, it's just you get to the next mountain and you see that next mountain ahead of us. So that's certainly the next one for us, is trying to find some ground. And then again, it seems like everything we do is financially, how do you do that? But that's, I think, what's next on the radar.
Well, good luck. And thanks for having me here and sharing all these personal details about what you guys have put into all this. This is really cool.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for reaching out to us.
This is the Real Food, Real People podcast. These are the stories of the people who grow your food.